Hi and hello to all. This side Priya Rana, and we are heading towards our third topic, that is research problem. So what is research problem? Research problem refers to some difficulty which a researcher experiences in the context of either a theoretical and a practical situation, and he wants a solution for that problem. So the theoretical problem can be the studies which he has done related to that problem, the existing knowledge which he has acquired regarding that problem. And the practical situation means the problem which he has faced practically. So this is the research problem. Moving on, the criteria of a good research problem. So we have to make sure that the research we which we are doing, it should be original enough, it shouldn't be a duplication of the existing one. It should have a clarity and an ambiguity. That means that the research problem which we are making, it should be clear enough, and there should be no unambiguity between the variables. And next is the researcher should have a keen interest in that particular topic. That's why he can keep the audience captivating towards his research, and he that's how he can take the interest of others if he is interested in doing that. Next is important and applicable. The research which the researcher is doing, it should be important enough and applicable to the society, to the organization, and to the government. Next is feasibility with research abilities. This means that the researcher who is choosing the problem, he should have all the capabilities to do this. He should be competent enough, and he should have a qualification of a good researcher. Next is cost and time feasibility. That means that the researcher should have this much of financial resources to make that particular research. He should have make sure that the research which he is doing, it should be completed in a specific time. Next are the sources of research problem. So the person who is doing the research, from where he collect the information, then he comes to the point to make a research. Then what are the sources of the researcher from where he gets the research problem? So it can be, if the researcher is an individual person, professional, or academician. So an individual person can be you, me, or any other person who wants to do a research in any problem he has faced in the practical world. Professionals are the professionals who are sitting in the market or the industry, who are there to make a research on the certain things according to their industries. Next is academicians. Academicians are the person who, for academic purposes or for their own interest, they are doing the research. They make and formulate the research problem. Next is review of literatures. If the person has reviewed many books and then he try to find out that there is a possibilities to make a further research in the particular discipline, then he makes a research. Next is when the researcher he attends many seminars, many conferences, and from there he gets into the discussions with many experts, and from there he get a research problem in his mind, that there should be a need to do a research in particular field. So that's how a research problem arises in the researcher's mind there. If the researcher is imaginative and creative enough, then the research problem arises if he wants to go to the unexplored area. Next is because the technical and social changes are constantly bringing up new challenges in the front. Then what happen is, if the researcher is facing that there is technological change, there is a need to do research, and there is a social change in the environment. So for making research in technology and social changes, there comes a problem in the mind of researcher when he sees such kind of a changes. Next is selection and defining of problem. See, the researcher, if he is defining his problem, it can be in interrogative form, it can be in declarative form. Interrogative form, it could be a questionable form. Declarative form, it could be a declaration of the topic. So for example, in declarative form, we can say that analysis of the student's behavior. In declarative in sorry interrogative form, if I say that what number of people, what percentage of the people uh, have their interest in the class. Next is the steps which we are going to define when we are making a research problem. That is, the researcher should have a conceptual framework of the problem. The researcher should have a conceptual framework, means that he should have the clear concepts in his mind. He should have done a background study. He should have underlined theoretical and conceptual basis. Should means that he has made a proper thoroughly analysis of the problem. He has read many existing books. He has done many theories regarding to that. His concept should be clear. He has done a background study, and then he make a critical examination of the studies. Next, in the next step, what the researcher do is he studies the unit which is to be analyzed. Now, for example, if we study the case of vehicle ownership, in vehicle ownership, if I say that we are how many vehicle ownership are there in this particular area, for that we make sure that we are taking household as a unit of our analysis. Next is, researchers should make sure that variables, the essential variables regarding that particular research. So we have dependent variables. Dependent variables are dependent on the consequences of other variables, and independent variables, these variables are not dependent on other variables, these are independent. Extraneous variables are the variables which are not directly part of the study but influences the outcome of the study. Extraneous variable, so if I give you an example, the students behavior in the class. So if I talk about the students behavior in the class and their attentions in the class, then mobile phones can be a extraneous variable in that. Now the researcher must specify the relationship in which he has to specify the relationship among the variables. In fourth step, he has to specify the relationship among the variables, and a purpose of the study of the researcher has to decide which relationship should form a part of the study. After that, after defining the relationship, he has to make sure that which relationship should be a part of his study and which are to be ignored. The last stage of developing a hypothesis. See, once the problem is to be tackled, has to be finished. Once the problem which we have seen, it has to be finalized. We have to finalize that problem, that finally this is the problem. Next, we can here say that the variable identified, the variable which we have identified, and with the relationship which we have stated. So the researcher should now formulate the tentative solutions for the problem and find a proposed hypothesis for that. So in the last step, if I say that the researcher should formulate the hypothesis, and the hypothesis is based on the relationship among the variables and the best variable he chooses for that. So lastly, if I say that the steps of from the selection of the problem to defining the problem and stating the hypothesis are the situations from which we faces many pitfalls. Then while defining he should take care that the research problem should not be too narrow, or it shouldn't be too broad enough, so that it should match up the experience and qualification of the researcher. Thank you.